Disclaimer, this video is an experiment done in a virtual environment and not a real PC. The actions taken in this video have no impact on my PC that I'm using, nor the files on it. I do not recommend this to be done on any normal PC, and I do not take responsibility for any damage done to your PC in the course of copying my actions. Hope you enjoy. What on guys, Commander here. Welcome to a new video on Hyper-V, and this is the third part in my dual Windows installation little experiment in Hyper-V. Now, as you can see here, we have got some has changed since the last episode, and we've got another virtual machine which is the exact same name but as Mark II. Now, there's a reason for this. I'm going to explain this now. As far as how this is meant to go, if you remember me saying last episode, I said I was going to look into Hyper-V and find out how to get into the BIOS to change the boot order to make this experiment work. Now, I looked at how you change the boot order in Hyper-V, and it was relatively simple. So this is the one I had actually installed the Windows operating systems on anyway. And if I go into settings, it should be, so this was the one that it told me to go to, and we've got the stuff here that we can move about. Now, the only problem with it is that because this Hyper-V machine is generation 1, I can't actually play about with the boot order. So I looked on the internet of how to change the boot order and whatever else in a Hyper-V machine, and you need a generation 2 virtual machine. So what I've done instead is I've kept this one just because this is the part of this is the tutorial one. And if we go here, so if we go settings and then go into BIOS here, this is the boot this is the boot system. We've got two hard drives. Again, we've got Windows 10 and we've got Windows 8.1. I've reinstalled both the operating systems as per standard, as we have done before. And the only thing is that the only difference between the exact same specifications, except this is a let me change the core count to 2. The only difference between this let's go apply a minute. So the only difference being is that it's a Gen 1 machine and this one's a Gen 2 machine. The memory is exactly the same, and now the virtual processors are exactly the same. And we can actually boot up from the file type. So this is where the actual experiment actually comes into fruition. The past 2 episodes were basically just a tutorial on how to install Windows 8.1 and Windows 10. But this video is the main actual tutorial on how to to see if this experiment will actually work. So now, there's one of 2 ways that this can go. It'll either boot up, and whichever one is in the first boot order, that's what will boot up first, or it will not boot up at all, or something will happen, it will corrupt the files. Now, I hope that it goes. Now, logically, having used computers for the past 5 years and for 5 years studied how they work and whatnot, logically, it should go the way I hope it's going to go, and this should work. Whether that actually does happen or not, it's a completely different matter, and I haven't got a clue whether it will or not. But what I'm going to do 2 separate experiments. Now, ideally, I want the, can I just drag and drop this? No, I can't. So, ideally, how I want the boot order to be is I want it to be hard drive, DVD drive, file, and network adapter. File and network adapter don't really need to be in the boot order in any particular way, but I want it to be the 2 hard drives first and then the DVD drive. But what I want to do as a tester is I want to move one of the hard drives at the top and one of the hard drives down the bottom. So in the event that one fails, it's got to go through everything else before it gets to the secondary one. Then we'll go with them underneath each other, and we'll see how that goes. So this is the top. So it goes from top to bottom in the term of boot order, if you're not already aware. So you got your hard drive, and then it goes file, DVD, network adapter, and then hard drive. So I want 8.1 to boot up first, and I want to see. I also am really intrigued to see. Let's just boot this up a minute. I'm really intrigued to see. I'm really intrigued to see how it works on the Windows Explorer. Now, it'll either work one of two ways. It'll either work that it won't. Hang on a minute. Oh, that'd be why. I need to switch on my external hard drive because the virtual drives are actually on there. I keep on forgetting to do this. I don't know why. That's one. That's two. Nice. Right. So let's start this up again. This should go quite well now. So, now the reason now I'm really interested to see how it works in File Explorer. Now, what I want to do is once I've proven that this will actually work. Now, when I've installed it, scanning and repairing drive. Okay, so something's gone wrong here. Maybe it's because it detects two operating systems. So it seems to be repairing my drive. Okay, this is interesting. Unless it's because it doesn't detect the actual hard drive on the PC, the actual normal PC or not. I don't know. But let me just put this back up. So theoretically, how this should work is I don't think we're going to see both the hard drives on the File Explorer. But if this actually does work, what I want to do is I think this is the Windows 8.11, hence why it's the first thing to show up. We'll see how this goes. But how it should go is in the File Explorer, it should just show the one hard drive. They're both 50 gig hard drives. I can see. Let me just shut it down a minute. Okay, let's turn it off. Right, let's turn it off. If I just go into the settings quickly, let's remove the Windows 10 drive. Just click apply. I can add that back in later. So let's just keep it like that. Let's see if it'll actually boot to Windows 8.1 just on base. And see if this will work. We're preparing automatic repair. Okay, so there's something that's happened to that drive that it needs to repair. Okay. Or is it just going to boot up on its own? Diagnosing your PC. Okay, so something's happened to that drive and it's corrupted somehow. Somehow it's corrupted and it's not liking it. PC did not start correctly. Press restart to restart your PC, which is attempt to fix the problem. You can also press advanced options to try the just get restart. So restart the virtual machine and see what happens. Might be that I need to reinstall Windows 8.1 again. I don't think it's because I got that I had that second hard drive in there. I might be completely wrong. That might be the reason why, and this doesn't actually work. But I don't know. Right, let's restarting the machine now. Let's see. Are you going to boot up nicely? Something's happening. Ah, right. Okay, so it's booted up. Right, so if we got to the Windows 8.1 desktop. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Please tell me we can get to the desktop. Right, that's good. Right, so we got to the desktop. Right, can we get to the desktop? Yes, right, so we got to the desktop. That's fine. Let's turn that off. Right, that's good. That means that the operating system actually works. So what I want to do now, if I turn this off, turn off the virtual machine. Now, if I go and add that other drive in, second hard drive, it's the Windows 10.1 in it. I think so. Right, so apply. Yeah, so that's the one. So let's just go into the boot order. So boot order's back to where it should be. So let's open this up. Let's switch it on. Let's see where we get to. Let's see if it'll open up. Because what I want to do, if this actually works, and I can get, and you can switch the boot order about, and have 2 operating systems on one PC and just switch them about if one tends to go wrong. Choose an option. Exit continues Windows 8.1. I want to see if I can, in File Explorer, see if I can see both the operating systems in File Explorer. Yeah, see, it's not. I don't think that's liking it. Trying to repair the drive. I think it's because, let me try. Because the problem is, the reason why, this is the reason why I didn't say why I wanted to experiment with it. Because the reason why I didn't think it would work. Let's take, let's move that up to the top a minute. Move that down to the bottom and have Windows 10 be the base boot. And see where we get to with that. Because the reason why I didn't think this would work originally is because 2 operating systems, your PC is only able to have 2 separate operating systems on them. Now you can't have operating system drives have to either be. See, it's doing it again. Let's skip it and see where we get to. Can I? Oh god, I can't. No, I've got no keyboard input. Or do I? Oh no, maybe I do. Because again, for this particular instance, because it's a Hyper-V machine, I can skip disk check and it'll break the disk, and it might, and if it breaks the machine, it's fine. But the reason why this may not work and why I wanted to test it is because operating systems have to be used by either an M.2 PCI Express slot, so port, or a SATA port. Now, if it's not on either of those 2, it can't be USB, it can't be an external hard drive. They can only be used as boot drives to reinstall Windows and stuff like that. They can't be used as a separate operating system because you can't connect them effectively. Hang on, have we booted to Windows 10? Have we actually booted to Windows 10 with that? It's taken a while, but the reason why is because you can't. Oh, hang on. Right, let's log in. This may or may not work. I'm hoping it does, but you have to have that connected in that particular way, which is why I've got it like it is now. So at the moment, how the hard drives are connected? They're both connected. They're both hard disk mechanical hard drives. And they're both connected via SATA cables. Now, the reason why this may not work is because your motherboard is what boots up your operating system, as well as your CPU, your RAM, and what have you. Now, what it's trying to do is the boot order is basically there, so it tells your motherboard, right, this is what I want to boot first, this is what I want to boot second, and it basically scans everything and says, right, this is what we've got here, this is what wants to be booted first. And the reason why it may not work is because it's base default, a normal motherboard, gaming or not, is based to be normal, like used to detect one operating system. Now, once it detects 2 operating systems, that repairing your disk is often I often find it if I've did an experiment before to see if I can install Windows 10 in 2 partitions of your drive. Now, it's slightly similar to this, except it's using one storage device, and it's using one storage medium, but split it into 2 partitions, and then reinstalling Windows 10 on both those different partitions. Now, regardless of whether they're partitions or not, they're the same hard drive. And I tried to install Windows 10 on both the different partitions, but because the motherboard... Oh, hello. Okay, we got to it. I don't want to sign in. Right, so the recycle bin. The recycle bin's being corrupted. Okay. But I was doing... Yeah, continue. It's fine. But because it was two separate operating systems on one drive, the motherboard or the BIOS of Hyper-V was turned around and saying, "Hang on, there's two separate Windows 10 operating system versions on one drive. How is that possible?" So it's thinking, okay, hang on a minute, it might just be a bug, so we'll just try and repair it. So it will not allow one drive to have two partitions with the same operating system on them because it won't recognize it. That's what I think has happened here, but with two drives. I think it's thinking, okay, hang on a minute. Right, so we've got two. So that's the two drives, actually. That's one with Windows. That's one with Windows. I think this is the Windows 10 one. It doesn't actually say which one no, that's the Windows 10 one. This is the one we're using at the moment. That's the Windows 8.1 one that's actually showing. Right, okay, so let's shut this machine down. Change the boot order and see if we can get it to boot with Windows 8. If we go in, we change the boot order. Stick Windows 8 up there. Stick that down there. Click apply. Click OK. Open this up and turn it on. Let's boot it up. So see what happens. So it won't allow two separate operating systems to run on the same motherboard. On the same drive. Now, that's what I think has happened here. The motherboard and the BIOS... Oh, bloody hell. That's quick. That's quick. If I turn this off a minute... And I start it up. Let's start it up. Let's be really quick on it. Let's try and see if we can... stop it from trying to repair the drive. Just trying to tap enter on my keyboard. Choose your keyboard layout. Oh, God. Any more keyboard layouts? I'm bloody like an English United Kingdom. Why is it telling me about keyboard layouts? Oh, God. What's happening here, then? Let's just go with it and see what we can find. United Kingdom, that's what I want. Right, continue to Windows 10. Because maybe it's just thinking, oh god, there's two operating systems here. Let's try and repair it because this shouldn't happen. Now, it's quick. It's quick about it. Windows 8.1, it really doesn't like that. Let's see if we can... Just turn the machine off. Switch it back on again. Let's just see. Print automatically repair. Come on, come on, come on. Let's just... I don't know why it's telling me to do this. I don't know what the relevancy keyboard layouts actually has. You're right, United Kingdom. Continue to Windows 10 boot. See if we can stop it from scanning the drive and actually boot straight to Windows 10. Or when no, this is Windows 8.1, right. Seems to have just booted straight to it. Now, if this doesn't work, this will work in this sense. Now, there's one way that this actually would work, is if you had two separate hard drives, as we've seen now, it has no problem with booting the drive up when there's only one operating system in there. So what you can do is, if you really wanted to, you could stick two alternate drives in there, one at a time. So you could install Windows 10 on one of them, take that out and put another one in, and put another one in. Hang on, is this booted up? And stick another one in and restore Windows 10 on that. So you've got a separate hard drive that you can take, that you can put somewhere safe as your backup Windows 10 operating system that you can stick in that has it rebooted. Okay, right. So anyway, carrying on. Then you can, if let's say your operating system goes wrong, you can take that hard drive out and stick another one in. Stick that other one in your backup and it'll boot up to Windows 10 normally. Now, that is one way that we know it will work, because I've tested it here, and we've seen here, so long as there's only one drive in there, it'll boot up perfectly fine. But it's when there's two boots there, that's trying to work, it starts to get confused. The actual PC, the actual like operating, the system starts to get confused with what you're trying to do. So hence why it thinks there's a problem. It starts to repair the drive. Now, because that is because I don't think that is just because the drive is problematic. I think it's because it's detected two Windows operating systems on two different drives within the same system. So regardless of whatever happens, if you ever wanted to do this, you would have to go through that same procedure of trying to skip the disk check every single time you wanted to boot up to your system. So I actually think that is like, it's a bit of a pain, but that is the way that it is going to go, because normal PCs are not, and motherboards and BIOSes are not but like built specifically for that purpose. You know, even servers, they have a backup to back up their system. They have on a backup drive, not actually plugged into the server or a system, because that's more for security, so it doesn't get corrupted at the same time. But maybe that it would actually be better if let me just switch this machine off a minute. Turn off. So maybe that might actually be better, because like I'm not sure if let's say this one corrupted, at the same time. I don't know, but it works, and my theory actually works. But considering how much trouble you actually have to go through to do it, it's not worth the hassle and the faff. Now, I say that I don't advise you to do this on your own PC or laptop. I've said at the beginning of each video, this is experimental purposes, and I do not recommend in any way, shape, or form that you do this on your own system, because this is a virtual machine. It's got literally the files that are on this, and what I'm doing on this has got no bearing whatsoever. I don't even see my storage drive on my normal PC. It does not do anything to the drive. Hence why I can shut it off and switch it back on again and faff about with different files, delete things, add things, do whatever, and it'd be perfectly fine, because my actual system will not be affected. Hence why I've been playing about with this, because like on my normal PC, this would probably be a broken system by this point. But because it's experimental purposes, it doesn't particularly matter. But it's an interesting experiment that I wanted to try, because like after I said on the first video, the reason why I started doing this particular experiment, because of I wanted to know if you could back up your system. Now, that you can create, I was talking to my teacher at college about this. Now, I can't show you this in this actual virtual machine, because Hyper-V, maybe VirtualBox supports it, I'm not too sure. If it does, I might do a video on that, but Hyper-V doesn't support this thing called RAID. Now, one of the RAIDs, I'm not going to explain it now, because one is complicated until I don't 100% understand it myself. But I was talking to my teacher at college about this, and he was saying that if you ever wanted to do this properly with no errors, like what I'm finding now is there's lots of errors and problems like that I'm finding while doing this, which is fine. But what you can do is you can have a hard drive, let's say a terabyte storage drive, and you can do what's known as, I think it's RAID 0 is the one that you use, and it basically mirrors your operating system and puts it into a recovery drive, and that you can use as a boot drive if you so much wish to use it. Now, how that actually works and how you go about doing it, I'm not too sure. But if I'm going to play back with VirtualBox, I've got VirtualBox on my new laptop. If you're watching my Twitter, you'll know that I've got myself a new laptop. But because that's got Windows 10 Home, if I ever want to do anything virtual machine-wise, I have to use VirtualBox. So I might have a play about with VirtualBox on I might have a play back with VirtualBox to see if you can actually do RAID on a VirtualBox machine. Because I know Hyper-V, you actually physically can't, because you can't actually get into the BIOS. VirtualBox, on the other hand, doesn't have as many settings like this as in its machines, but it actually has a proper BIOS within its machines. So we'll see how that goes, and if it comes to a point where I think, maybe, we can have a go at that, I will do a video on doing RAID 0 or going over the different RAIDs to try this out and see if I can mirror an operating system onto a recovery drive. So that might be slightly interesting to see how that goes. Now, having looked at this, now this is actually, it works as a bit of like a random of the experiment. It works and it works well, but it doesn't work to an extent where it's actually usable for a normal system. If I did this on my PC now, it more likely break the PC because of how much strain it has to go under with checking the CPU, checking the two devices and drives every time it boots up, depending on which one I need to go for, because it's trying to decipher whether which driver is meant to be the correct one, and it may corrupt one of the drives as well. So all in all, I wouldn't do this, and I don't think it's a good idea, but if you can do RAID and mirror your operating system, that'll be a better point of call, or just install Windows 10 or Windows 8.1 or whichever operating system you use on 2 separate hard drives, and then put one away as a backup in case one goes wrong. That's what I would recommend that you do. That's what I'd recommend that you do, because I don't think this is a good idea. You know, I wouldn't do this, and I hope that nobody does this, but I say, you know, like they said at the start of the video, I don't claim any responsibility for anything that happens, because this is just for experiment purposes. So, yeah, after that, I think that's actually wraps up this video. I did have a few other ideas of what I could do. Now, I can't do, there's one thing I should be able to do in Hyper-V quite easy, but there's one thing I actually have to do in VirtualBox, because I don't think you can do it in Hyper-V. I want to install a Linux server, or a Linux operating system, and play about with that, and do a video on how to install a Linux operating system, and I want to see if I can do it with Mac as well. Now, the only problem with Mac is that the ISO files, which is what you use as the boot drives for virtual machines, it's not so readily available as like Windows or Linux is. Now, getting hold of that isn't a major problem, because if I just scour the internet, again, it's just using a virtual machine. So if it is a bit of a dodgy ISO, virtual machines use the zip folder anyway, so even the inside, if there is anything corrupted inside or not legit inside the ISO files, they don't see the light of day in my files anyway, so it's not a major problem. But the main problem with macOS is that it doesn't use EUFI to boot up, which is what most Hyper-V machines actually use. Which now Linux and Windows use the UEFI to boot up their operating systems, but because Mac is different and it uses a separate hardware, you actually have to go in and deactivate EUFI and use something else. Now, I'm not entirely sure how you do it. I've done it once before on Hyper-V, not Hyper-V, on VirtualBox, but I can't remember how you do it. So if you want to have a look at that and see me try and do that, I'll definitely do Linux, because Linux, and I'll also do there's Linux Mint, there's Ubuntu, and I think there's a couple of others. But what I'll do is I'll do Linux Mint first. I'll definitely do Linux, and what I'll do is I'll record the other ones, and if I think they're any different, then I'll upload them. If I don't, then I won't. But yeah, I'll definitely do Linux. If I can work out how to do Mac, then I'll do Mac. But Mac especially, you will have to bear in mind that Mac especially is not to be done on a random machine. Now, I think I should be able to get through it with the program called Hackintosh, which is basically Mac OS for non-Mac systems. But how that will work on a virtual machine, I'm not entirely sure, but I can have a go. So, I hope you guys have enjoyed. That is what we have time for in this video here. I hope you guys have enjoyed. This has been a fun little experiment. I've really quite enjoyed doing this, because it just showed me, I have an idea in my head, do it, see what happens, and then we end up as we are. So, and we get our result at the end of it. So, I hope you guys have enjoyed. If you did enjoy, don't forget to smash that like button and hit that subscribe button for more awesome gaming or tutorial or experiment content. If you have any ideas for different like experiment videos I could do in Hyper-V or VirtualBox or even PC Building Simulator, for example, because they all sort of entire with everything with each other, leave it in the comment section down below and I'll check them out, and if I think that it's possible or if I can actually experiment with it, I'll have a go. So hope you guys have enjoyed and I shall see you all later. Bye!